Welcome back, folks, to Rapid Fire Elite, and today we'll cover the Object 252U. So this is going to be a premium tier 8 Russian heavy tank. How many premium Russian heavies do we have now? Like 16? 17? I lost count. Didn't keep track, so there's a lot. But this vehicle was originally previewed with a Leak Dish episode for 9.17. I previewed this vehicle alongside with the STRV S1, but back then I said that this vehicle is pretty OP. I'm actually wrong, so I would like to apologize now, but after analyzing this vehicle yet again because my computer broke, this vehicle is not OP. This vehicle is beyond broken. So yeah, the OP-ness, that's my term, but it's off the charts. So this is basically a tier 10 vehicle with lower DPM, lower view range and health, and put as a premium tier 8. So basically arbitrary stats, you can just inflate those and this vehicle will become a viable tier 10. But now, it's basically playing a tier 10's armor on a tier 8 premium tank. Yeah, this thing is broken. I mean, there are OP vehicles like the Jumbo Pershing or the IS-3A, and there's this thing, so I'm wrong. This thing is beyond broken. So what is the Object 252U? Well, the U stands for Улучшенный, so my Russian is terrible, but it stands for improved version of the Object 252. So basically, the 252 and the 253 were the versions of the IS-6. So the 252 has mechanical transmission, whereas the 253 has the electrical transmission. But these two vehicles were deemed inferior to the IS-4, so they were not implemented. But there were alterations of this vehicle, so it was redesigned with the improvements from the IS-3. So they took the pike-shaped hull, mounted a better 122 BL13, and this became the modernized Object 252U. But they stopped it there, so yep, that was a waste, but they took the experience and moved it to the Object 257, which later got modified to the 258, 259, then the 260, which became the IS-7. So basically, this is the ancestor to the IS-7, the pre-prototype IS-7, if you will. It's a tier 8, by the way, so frontal armor is about 100mm, but it's pike-shaped nose. Same goes for the turret, it's rounded. It's pike-shape-esque, like the IS-3, should be about 150 to 200mm. Has a BL13, 122, coaxial, should be a 50 cal, I believe, or 30 cal, but the Russians usually use the Dashka, so the 12.7, which is the 50 caliber. Has a crew of 4, maximum top speed of 50 kilometers per hour, and has about 700 horsepower, so similar to the Object 252, with about 55 tons, so horsepower per ton ratio should be about 12.7, 12.75-ish. But yeah, it's like the Object 252, so like the IS-6, I believe. So it was pretty decent, right? But it's only a blueprint vehicle, they never built it, so it's a paper tank. But here is the actual blueprint of the Object 252U. So as you can see, they took the IS-3's hull armor, or hull shape, and put it onto the IS-6, modified the turret to become more of a pan shape, so with the beak at the end, rather than the square edge at the end. But that's pretty much it. They modified the armor, no details were given, so don't know, but that's the general shape of the vehicle. Later they took the same concept and they moved it to the Object 257, which is, you already know, pretty awesome because the slope downwards hull armor. So we already covered this for the Object 257 video. It's already in your res folder, so the Object 257 does exist. And it's basically the T-22 medium tank mixed with the Object 260. So that's already broken, you already know that, but that's the history behind these two vehicles. So yeah, the Object 252U led to the Object 257. Then the IS-7, obviously. So here are the in-game models. So the early res, the low res of this vehicle. The turret looks almost like the IS-6 turret. I thought it was, but the armor model or the armor values are a lot different. So here are the HD models of this tank. So it looks pretty, like IS-3 mixed with IS-6 turret. Awesome, I like it. Russian tanks are pretty, same goes for Germans. But here are the pre-buff stats about 2 months ago. So here you can see that this gun is the same gun, almost, as the BL9, but it's BL13, so penetration is the same, alpha is the same, yada yada. But it has low ammo count for a Russian heavy tank, same goes for any other heavy tanks, so only 30 rounds of the 122, so signature low ammo count. But the original armor for this vehicle is 90 at the front and 90 at the sides, which is alright based on the sloping of the armor, so that will give you about 200mm-esque effective. So that was pretty good, but they buffed it to 130. So here are the current stats for this vehicle. So here you can see, without angling of the frontal hull armor and proper leveling, the frontal plate is automatic ricochet at about 20 degrees to the horizontal. So you could try to pin this thing at tier 8, mind you. It does not go through. Same goes for the sides. Oh yeah, nope, no way. Lower plate is 235 if you hit square on the beak, but if you go lower, it starts to increase to 250 to 260. So it's very similar to the IS-7's hull armor, but it has better sloping than the IS-7 because the IS-7 has about 30 degrees to the horizontal, whereas this vehicle has 20. So let's compare with the IS-7 just to prove a point. But so it's 71 to the vertical, but that means 20 to the horizontal. So basically take a look at the IS-7 and you can see that the upper plate is about 30-ish based on leveling of the gun. Yeah, 25-ish, 30-ish. So yeah, you can penetrate the hull armor of the IS-7 if you have a very high penetration gold shell. But with the 252U, it's auto bounce. Doesn't matter how high of a penetration. It's not as thick as the 150mm on the IS-7, but it has better sloping. So therefore, it's automatic ricochet. Whereas IS-7, you could penetrate with high penetration gold, but you're not going to pin this. Lower plate, it's about the same as the IS-7. So 250-ish. Yeah, about the same, but you don't have this beak armor of 270. So yeah, it's tier 8. It's fine. Now this vehicle doesn't have the strong driver hatch or the turret, but it's still 55 for the turret roof and 60 for the driver hatch. So it's not easy to overmatch these highly sloped plates, unlike the IS-3's roof access port. So it's still pretty strong. The turret front is 250, well sloped, so you're not going to pen unless you hit the cheeks with high penetration shell, but that's pretty hard. It's a small area too. Also, the roof, not that weak, so you cannot overmatch. You do have the lip for the commander and loader hatch, similar to the IS-6 or the Object 257. So these are the weak spot, about 150mm effective at the center, but if you hit to the sides, it's 240 to auto bounce, so make sure you hit in the middle. So this turret is similar to the IS-6, but it's 250. It's not 150 on the IS-6, but let's compare just to prove a point. So here's the IS-6, frontal plate 177. Whatever. Lower plate 216. Oh my god, so low. Not fair. But here you can see the 150 on the turret cheeks. So it's only 150, but I mean it's good-ish for tier 8. Whereas for the 252U, it's 250, well-rounded. So you could already see that this vehicle is basically a tier 10 worthy vehicle. Side armor is 100 behind tracks. So if you don't angle, it's 100, but the upper parts of the side armor is well sloped. So it's about 175mm to 180-ish. So it's alright. Side of the turret, 213. Whoa, 210, 200-ish. Yeah, pretty good. Rear armor, 90. Sloped, but 90. Meh, alright. So armor-wise, it's pretty good. You could side scrape. There's a side skirt. Only 30mm behind it, but it's a weird triangular shape. So here you can see, or trapezoid shape. So there's also sloping of the armor, even though it's 30mm. So it's about infinite effective to about 350. You're not penetrating this. So hit between the hull and the tracks right here. That's the weak spot. On the side, the front is basically the weak lower plate, but it's not that weak. Don't even go for the driver hatch, or you could shot trap if you're lucky, hitting the lower parts of the mantlet and ricochet into the upper hull, but that's likely impossible, so don't even think about it. But let's compare the stats of this vehicle to the IS-6. So here you can see 50 more millimeters of penetration and 50 more alpha. So this gun is more punchy than the IS-6 D25T, but DPM is not that great, so about 1 shell less per minute. Alright, but you have faster shell velocity, which is good, and the same amount of shells. So the potential damage with the ammo count is a lot better than the IS-6. So that's pretty good. Accuracy is better, 0.422. Better aim time as well, 3.07. Dispersion is not as good shooting on the move, but pretty much the same for all round, other than shooting or after the shot. So, hull traverse is faster, same turret traverse, 6 degrees of gun depression, pretty good for a Russian tank. Elevation is 20. So horsepower per turn ratio is 13.59, which is the same as the IS-6. Same terrain resistance, better hull traverse, same top speed reverse. So better brake force. You'll stop pretty fast compared to the IS-6, but that's superfluous fact. So 50 less health, but a lot better frontal armor. A lot better frontal turret armor. Same view range, same radio, same camo, but not as good shooting in position by 0.1%. So yeah, it's a premium without preferential matchmaking. The cost is wrong and weighs the same. So overall, it has about the same mobility stats as the IS-6, but with a lot more armor and a lot more penetration, a lot more alpha, and better accuracy and aim time for the preferential matchmaking. Is it worth it? Well, yeah, it's OP. So here are the average comparison with normal tier 8 heavy tanks. So alpha and the penetration is above average, but the DPM is, yeah, pretty much average. I mean, 140, not that much. But the shell velocity is pretty good than the average Russian guns. Accuracy, yeah, Russian. Aim time, Russian. Yeah, it's alright. Traverse is faster than normal. Turret traverse, average. Better horsepower per turn ratio. Terrain resistance, alright. Health is average, mostly. View range is low. Russian heavy tanks are blind. Radio is also pretty crap, but yeah, you don't need those. You have frontal armor. So overall, it's pretty good, right? Based on the armor. But we only compare this to the IS-6. Let's take a look at the Object 252 with the Object 257. So 257 is the OP, or OP again. There it is. So here you can see it's practically about the same armor as the 257 on the hull, but better slope. So more ricochets. I mean, it doesn't have the side armor as the 257 with the V-shaped hull, but it's alright. I mean, the turret looks almost the same too, but the 257 has a weak gun access port on top of the roof. This little square right here. So it's only 30mm. And if your vehicle is taller, like a E100, you can just stirp a shell into the gun access port like the IS-3, and that will deal damage. So overall, this turret is like the Object 257, but it doesn't have the weak spot on top. So it's a tier 8, mind you. So here are the stats changes from the initial version of this vehicle. So hull armor got massively buffed. Same goes for the sides, or 10 more millimeters at the sides. Hull traverse gets buffed by 4 degrees per second. The mobility, speed, turret traverse, health, weight, view range, radio range, and camo all stay the same. They changed the stats for the 122, so same penetration but increased the alpha, decreased the rate of fire, DPM decreased by a little bit, not that much, only 100, reload time increased, aim time increased, gun angles gets buffed by 1 degree for the depression, and overall dispersion slightly buffed. So not that much, but slightly. So would you trade some gun performance for massive hull armor buff? Yes, I would. So here are the final thoughts and opinions about the 252U. So there's absolutely no way that a viable tier 9 or tier 10 vehicle is going to be released as a tier 8 premium. So it has the penetration, the alpha, the hull traverse, and the horsepower per ton ratio with insane frontal hull armor and turret armor. Now the view range is crap, Russian heavy tank, same goes for the radio, the accuracy, the aim time, and the hard and medium terrain resistance, but as you saw, it has better accuracy and aim time than the D25T, the third P122 that's on most of the middle to high tier Russian heavy tanks. So it's pretty OP, right? So the upper frontal plate has better sloping at about 20 degrees to the horizontal than the 30 degrees on the IS-7 or the Object 260 or 257, so it's auto bounce. Lower frontal plate is about the same, so somewhat similar turret to the 257 as you saw, but it's not as strong as the 350mm at the front, but it doesn't have the 30mm roof, so that's a trade-off. But yeah, I would like to have the 60mm roof, or 55, my bad. So excuse me, my bad. But it's 55 at the roof rather than 30. So I would like to have the 55 than the 350mm turret cheeks. So yeah, you cannot overmatch the roof or the driver hatch easily. It has the same horsepower per ton ratio, speed, terrain resistance, view range, camo, gun angles, weight, and ammo count as the IS-6. But way better penetration, alpha, shell velocity, accuracy, aim time, hull traverse, and armor. With the trade-off of DPM, some slight dispersion on the hull movement and traverse, 50 health, and no preferential matchmaking. But is it worth it? Hell yes. So yeah, it's a tier 10 with low HP, DPM, and view range. But all of those are arbitrary stats. They're not based on history. They're not based on performance. You can easily change those. So there are overpowered vehicles like the Jumbo Pershing, the IS-3A, and then there's this thing. So hashtag Russian bias, hashtag working as intentional, or as intended, but it would be the ultimate vehicle if you combine the frontal armor of this vehicle with the IS-7's turret, the Object 257's sides, and the 260's gun and speed. So that's the biggest strength of the IS-7 family of vehicles. So the IS-7 has the turret, the 257 has the sides, and the 260 has the gun / speed, and this thing has better frontal plate. So because the better slope of the frontal plate means high explosive anti-tank, APCR shells, easily defeated. So yeah, this thing is broken. So yeah, the family of IS-7 vehicles are almost complete. So we're missing the Object 258 and the 259, but history-wise, it's pretty interesting because all these vehicles are different. They have their own difference in weakness and strengths. It's pretty interesting. I mean, it's a lot more interesting than comparing the VK7201K to the Panzerkampfwagen 7, right? It's copy and paste. But for these vehicles, different side armor, different frontal plate, different turrets. Pretty interesting. It's like evolution of EVs. There are so many of them, but all of them are freaking broken as all hell. So there you go, folks. The Object 252U. coming soon, and there will be a killing for it. It's so broken. It's not a tier 8 premium. You gotta be kidding me. 130mm sloped at the front? No way. Stick with the 90. Don't go to 130. It's broken. So, yeah. Working as intended, folks. But there you go, folks. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.